sign, money wise, let's go.
Woke up feeling like a boss today. They said, boy, you know we got you, gone and do your thing.
All right, hey, everyone, this is Mike Hoffman, the Longhorn Way Podcast. We are here today. We're back. It's been a little break for us, but we are back, and we're outside of the Longhorn ecosystem for the first time. Very excited to have Adam Davidson of Davidson Homes. Do I have that correct?
Yes, sir.
Very original name, Davidson Homes. Homebuilder based out of Huntsville, Alabama?
Correct.
Yes. We are very excited to have Adam as a guest today. And Adam, give us a brief background on who you are, where you grew up, where you went to school, and then we're going to kind of talk into, I'm really excited to talk today about how you got into your business and how you have grown your business. We were talking about a little bit earlier. And then one of the things I really want to talk about to you, because I'm fascinated talking to the guys, is when you grow and scale your businesses, what are the challenges that you are facing now that you didn't really think about as you grew? And maybe it didn't exist as, when you're just starting off and all that stuff.
Sure.
I love talking about that. So tell us about you. Where are you born? Where are you from? All that good stuff.
Yep. So, I grew up in North Alabama. I was actually born in Baton Rouge. Didn't stay there long, and my family traveled around as I was a kid till about 5 years old. We actually lived in a fifth wheel camper for 5 years.
Wait, say that again. Where'd you live?
Yeah, we lived in a fifth wheel camper. So my dad was in the construction business and the fire sprinkler side, and the commercial side and industrial. And we lived my sister was born in San Jose, California. I was born in Baton Rouge. We lived in DC, South Georgia, and then ended up in the Huntsville area in Alabama. So, and
tell everybody real quick that maybe didn't grow there. What does a fifth wheel camper mean?
Yeah, it's just a travel trailer. It's fifth wheel versus, goes in the bed of the truck, kind of like a gooseneck.
Okay.
But yeah, so we had like a 1-ton truck, and my mom had a little car, and we moved around to campgrounds and lived, and my dad would work different chemical plant shutdowns, things like that. And so we ended up getting to North Alabama in 1989 or 1990, and I started school here. So I grew up in the same school system, and graduated at North Alabama, and then went to UNC Charlotte to college, and thought I wanted to be a motorsports engineer, and maybe that would have been fun.
Is that why you were in North Carolina?
Yeah. They had a motorsports engineering program at Charlotte. Found out the hard way I can't pass engineering classes, man. I ended up getting a business degree, and they had an entrepreneurship program, so I did that, and ended up thankfully graduating in 4 years after a lot of summer school. So my first job, when I was getting close to graduating, they, business management degree can really be anything. So I had an uncle that built houses in South Mississippi, and he always seemed to do well for himself. So I kind of just picked home building and started researching it. And I think I might have applied to literally over 200 home builders. This was 2007. I was graduating college in 2007.
Oh, gosh.
The only builder that gave me an interview was D.R. Horton. So I ended up hiring on there in Gulfport, Mississippi in 2007. And worked there for 2 years, and then in that time frame, I decided I want to start my own company, and I moved back to North Alabama after working there 2 years.
Well, hold on. You're kind of glossing over some interesting times in the home building industry in our country. So, what was going on? I know you were just starting; you're just out of college, but what was going on in D.R. Horton in 2008 when the financial crisis started to happen? Did that have effect on D.R. Horton?
It was, I think I was too young to know the difference in some cases, but yes, they definitely were struggling. I want to say, maybe 1 year while I was there, they might have lost $1 billion.
Oh my God.
It was definitely a struggle. I mean, I was there for kind of sort of the rock bottom points. And
what did you get? Well, and I'm sorry, but what did you get hired to do? Like, what was your job when you're coming out of college? What do you do?
Yeah, so I applied for an assistant superintendent position because I had no idea how to build a house.
Right.
So they actually hired me as a superintendent, which was good for me, but I was, never built a house before, so that was going to be interesting. Then it kind of got even funnier. Probably not funny to me at the time, but my 5th week at the job, so I graduated, say May, and I think this was maybe in July or August. I think maybe August. The corporate guys came down and demoted all my bosses, sent them back to Texas. And so I think I had 32 homes under construction, and they left me in Mississippi by myself.
What?
My 5th week at work. Yeah, I have a business degree and never built houses before. So,
did they know that?
Yeah, they knew it. And I was 22 years old. I mean, it was crazy. So they left me there with the sales agent in the model home and me. That was the whole, nobody in the state other than us.
Well, hold on. So are these houses all done? Or are you're in mid-construction?
Yeah, they're middle construction, some starting, some midway, some getting close to finished. I mean, they were all over the board. Yeah. So I had to learn the hard way. So I didn't even know how to schedule a house. And they actually didn't have a computer. They left me with a BlackBerry Nextel and about 3 pages of vendors with their phone numbers.
And what did they say? Hey, just finish the houses and sell them? I mean.
Yeah, basically.
And you're like, aren't you like, well, hold time out, guys. I've been here 5 weeks. I don't even know how to build. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, they gave me a new boss, and he was at a Baton Rouge division. It's a couple hours away. And, I mean, I didn't even know how to schedule one. So the subcontractors would get aggravated at me because I didn't know the order of operations for a lot of them. So my electrician actually got aggravated and came in the job trailer. That was my office, was in a job trailer. And said, hey, Adam, we've been talking on the job site. I'm going to teach you how to build a house. So the electrician taught me how to schedule a house.
Thank God.
And, so it was really neat. I got those houses done, and we got them closed out, and then they started giving me more. And I think we ended up doing, maybe 80 something closings in 2 years while I was there.
But well, hold on. I thought nobody was buying or building houses starting in 2000. I thought everything was melting down.
Well, it was. Mississippi, I would tell you, probably was a little later to that, to the game as far as it slowing down, but it certainly did while I was there. But while the rest of the country was really melting down, we were still enjoying some sales there, and then it did catch up with us as well. And I think it probably got worse after I left. So I left the last Friday in May of 2009.
So I'm really fascinated. So you're building homes in the worst possible time in the last 50 to 100 years in our country.
Yeah. Yep.
And you get thrown in the fire. You get a nice electrician that says, like, he gets frustrated with you. Is like, fine, I'm going to teach you how to do this.
Yeah. Yes.
And you decide, I want to understand the thought process. You know what? I'm going to leave here and start my own home building business.
Yep.
In the middle of 2009 when nobody's building homes. Is this right? Do I have this right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. And
you're how old? By the way, you're how old at that time?
At this time when I left, I was 24.
Okay.
Started when I was 22, left when I was 24.
Okay.
And, and I think I was so naive. I really didn't even understand, to the extent of what I was getting myself into. But I started super small. I mean, I had everything, and I would work at night and on the weekends, getting, the company name, which I got really creative with that. Davidson Homes.
Yeah.
But getting I would come home. I think I drove home like 14 weekends in a row back to North Alabama and got, meet with subcontractors on Saturdays and Sundays, and had all my pricing, had my house plans done. And so when I left, I left on the last Friday of May.
Okay.
I dug the footings on the first 2 homes on Monday morning.
Well, can I ask you a question though? I'm sort of confused here though. This is May of 2009.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And did you need to get financing to build these homes?
Yeah. So the background on that is that, and really the whole idea of even running my own company was when my dad, when we moved to North Alabama, him and another guy met at work, and they started their own fire sprinkler company in 1990. And so they built it up. It became Southeast Wide. They sold it in 2008 while I was working at D.R. Horton. And so he said, hey, if you want to get started, I'll help you, help fund you. And he was actually 50% partner with me. So my dad helped me get started in the business.
Okay.
And so that was how I was able. Obviously, no bank's going to give me any money in 2009 as a 24-year-old.
That's where I was going. I was like going, and not just because you're 24 years old and maybe don't know what you're doing, although you have some good experience, right? Mm-hmm. Just in that time period, like forget you. I don't think anyone was getting any financing at that time.
Correct. No, they weren't. And so we just started, and he was very adamant. First of all, I don't think I was ever going to get to work at his company, no matter what I did.
You're talking to your dad now?
Even if you were going to, you're going to work somewhere else doing something else for 2 or 3 years, and then we'll talk. But he ended up selling the company while I was working at D.R. Horton. And so he was definitely the one that my ability to get started. But even that, he put in just enough to build 2 1,500 square foot homes. I mean, it was 2, and then
all right. So tell me how much back then. This is 2009. What did it cost to build a 1,500 square foot house? And this is where in northern Alabama? This
is just south of Huntsville.
Okay.
So kind of close to where I grew up.
Okay. I'm fascinated to hear the answer to this.
Between the lots and the houses, probably $300,000
for both houses.
Yeah.
So 150,000.
Lots were $25,000 a piece, and you could buy lots cheaper than that. I just didn't have any buying power for the most part. But yeah, you could build them pretty cheap. 4-sided brick houses.
Okay. 3 bedroom, 2 bath.
Yeah. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1 level.
And you're building spec homes in May of 2009.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I sold.
What'd you sell them for?
Both of them as soon as I got them both done in 60 days.
Oh my gosh.
Because I had to go fast. I didn't. My backup plan was I'd worked at Lowe's in college in the garden center, which I never wanted to do again. But my backup plan was I was going to go get a job at Lowe's or something if these specs didn't sell right away. Just to get a job and keep some income coming for myself. And so I was fortunate enough to sell both of them actually right as I got them finished. And I laid the sod on both houses myself. And I was laying the sod and somebody came along and actually wanted to buy one of them. So I ended up, that one closed pretty quickly. The other one sold quickly, but the appraisal was bad.
Ugh.
2009. Of course, all the appraisals seemed to be bad. And so it fell off. And it did not sell again for like 4 months.
Oh my gosh!
So I had like one sale, and somebody was like, "What do you think we should do?" And I was like, "We had actually a pretty decent amount of traffic because everyone had built pre-2009 big homes, and so even the neighborhood I was in, these homes are 2,500, 3,000 square feet. The minimum covenant was 1,500. But I said we had enough people, and I said I know enough now that action breeds action. I said we can't not build 1 or 2 more. So he said, let's just try it. And I said, let's build 2 more. So now I had a finished spec sitting and I started 2 more. And I sold bam, 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 all 3 of them.
All right.
Now
Well,
I've got 4 sales.
What'd you sell them for? You got to tell us what you got to, I'm dying to know. Your first house, what'd you sell it for?
159.9.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep,
and you're
so
into it.
300,000 is probably actually high because if I sold it for 159.9 and I made money, then it would have been even cheaper than that to build. And at the time, my area that I was in, you didn't cross the $170,000 mark. That was like death wish. So you needed to be like below 170. So I know it was very crazy. So anyway, I sold, now I've got 4 sales. I ended up only closing 1 in the first 6 months. And then first part of the next year, I was able to close several more. And I think the second year in business, I did 11 closings.
Oh my gosh.
And that had been 2010 and 2011. I did 15. 2012 and during 2011, I would sit out there because I was the only employee of the company till 2012. So I would, of course, build the homes. On Sundays, I would do QuickBooks accounts payable.
Hold on. Let's back up real quick. I want to understand this for a second. You're the only employee of the company.
Yep.
And so are you finding an architect? Like how do you?
Yes, I've got someone local, so I'm not drawing the house plans, but I had like a subcontractor did that.
Right. So you got a sub that's designing it.
Yep.
Right. And then you are managing all the subs.
Yep.
Right. And you're the marketing guy.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You're the marketing guy. You are literally a one-stop shop.
Yeah.
But you're the one. You're the only one.
Yeah, I'm the only one. I cleaned the streets. I mowed the yards. I mowed the entranceway to the community. I did the landscaping. I did pressure washing on every single home until 2000, probably 14 or 15. I had a little pressure washer carry around my truck, and I did all that on every home.
And you're doing QuickBooks on Sundays? Is that where you were going?
I would rather dig ditches than do QuickBooks, but yes, I did all the accounts payable. I would sub out the financials to, and I only got quarterly financials at the time. I would sub that out to a third party because I didn't actually know how to put together P&L and balance sheet. But yeah, so I did that, and on Saturdays I would sit in a spec home, and I have like a desk in there and just very very little furnishings, but just something or another to have in the house. And I kept having all these people come in, and this sounds crazy nowadays, but everyone was like, "Hey man, we need something at 129, 130, 135." And that was the target price point. I was in the 150s, maybe the low 160s. And so I went to my dad and I said, "Look, I think that really this whole county doesn't have anything where I can build 1,200 square foot homes, 1,300 square foot homes. And that seems to be the market." And he's like, "Well, what are you thinking?" I said, I think and I've looked and there's no lots available either. Again, everyone was building big homes going up to the recession. And so that no one developed lots that were for 1,200 square foot homes. And they had minimum covenants in 1,800, 2,000 square feet. And so there was finished lots on the ground, but they didn't hit the right price point.
Okay.
So I was using a third party real estate agent to list my homes for sale. And I had her, I said, "Can you run the numbers in this county? How many homes are selling between 120 and 150 a month?" She did, and she came back and said there's 50 homes selling a month in this whole county in that price point.
But you had a realtor, but were you running the open houses on Saturdays? Is that what you were doing? You're saying
I was there every weekend. Oh yeah.
Even though you had a realtor.
I didn't have any breaks. Like if there was spare time during the day, I had flyers and I took them to real estate offices for my company. Davidson Homes, little trifold flyers. There was no hours in the day that I wasn't doing something. I'd sweep houses, just stay busy. Because when you're building 2, 3, 4, 5 homes at a time, you have a lot of time on your hands.
Gotcha.
Superintendent job is not that complicated, but so anyway, she
ran
the numbers.
Yeah, 50. Go ahead. She's telling you 50 homes a month.
And I said, "Well, how many new homes?" And she came back and said 0. There's 0 new homes available, 50 buyers a month. At this time, there's things like Zonda, Metro Study. I mean, I didn't even know this stuff existed.
Right.
Literally, I had no idea.
Right.
So I was like, well, my common sense says that if there's 50 a month and there's no new ones available, if I put a product on the ground at that price point, I could sell 5, let's just say. So I, go back to my dad and said, I think I need to, develop a neighborhood. 2011, and he again is not in the home building business either. So we're just like, well, okay, this makes common sense. So I go get a piece of land. I buy it. Don't even know entitlements are necessary. I mean, I know that you need to get approved, but I don't. Nowadays, we would never buy a piece of land unentitled if it was risky.
Right.
So I go buy this land and take it to the city or call my surveyor. He says he can do engineering. Again, I'm feeling my way in the dark here. And turns out he actually is a good engineer, but I didn't know that for sure at the time. So he lays it out, tell him what I want, small lots and things like that. And we take it to the city. And of course the city engineers are like, "Adam, there's, hundreds of lots all over town. Why are you putting in more?" And I was like, "Yeah, but they don't hit the right price point." So anyway, they approved it. And I put in the first phase in 2011. It's like 29 lots. And
well, let's hold on. Let's back up real quick. Are people? I'm trying to remember. Right, this is a while ago. Because we're not really in the meltdown anymore, right? We're coming out of the meltdown, 2010, 2011, right?
Yeah, 2010, 11. I would tell you that 2011 was probably the roughest year, at least in the area I was in. 2012 is when he really started coming out.
Okay. So people...
That was back when Obama was doing the $8,000 tax credit or something like that.
Yeah.
2010, 2011. And so anyway, so I get approved. So while I'm building my 15 closings in 2011, and I was doing insurance jobs. I mean, just, kind of anything I could get my hands on.
Oh, insurance jobs. You mean you're doing some rehabs on stuff?
One house I built, or actually two houses I built, their house had burned down.
Gotcha.
They had insurance money and go build a new one for them on their lot. Did a few on your lot jobs in 2011. So I'm developing this neighborhood, 29 lots, and get it finished in the fall of 11. Start my model home in December. I think I had the thing finished like in January.
So
it was quick.
What are you buying these lots for at this time?
So these I developed myself.
Okay.
I mean, this is you could put in a lot back then for about $24,000, a 55 to 60 foot lot.
Okay.
And then I would sell them to myself for $35,000.
Okay.
And so everything was a lot cheaper. Of course the bids. I must have got 15 bids to do the job because no one had any work.
Yes.
So put these lots in, build the model home quickly. First model home I'd ever had. Fully furnished, and the traffic was unbelievable. And hindsight is I had a very inexperienced sales agent. I brought a full-time agent on, and he had never sold homes before. And I mean, we're literally piecing all this thing together. It's a model home in a neighborhood, and I work in a job trailer at this point.
Okay.
On site. And so when I go to work, we're all in one community all day long.
Yeah.
And man, we had these little cards that you would fill out when you come in the model home, your name and address and little questionnaire thing. We ended that year, we had 750 of those filled out at one model home, which is unbelievable traffic. And I was building 2-bedroom homes, 2-car garage for $129.9 and making margin. Okay. And so anyway, we closed 39 homes in there that year. So, which was crazy because we only had 29 lots. So we sold all those 29 in probably the first 3 or 4 months. And then I had to go back to the engineer to engineer 26 more lots in the second phase and get the bids and mobilize, put in the lots. Then we built houses on the lots and closed them before the end of the year.
Oh my gosh. It
was like a dust storm when you go out to this community. And I mean, we were building houses in 50 days from contract signing to closing, 55 days, calendar days. I mean, we were hustling. And I mean, if you wrote a contract with us, we didn't have a color, design center appointment. We did the colors right now while you were signing your contract in the model home. And then the next day we were starting your house.
Oh my gosh.
So it was really, really fun times. Probably the most fun I've had in these years of owning the company. So that was but it was kind of my breakout year. That was the first time that I proved out that I could really do more production, even though instead of 39 closings, a good rate for home builders is, maybe more like 15% of your traffic gets written. So okay. I was should have sold 100 houses out there that year, not 39.
But all you had was 39. I mean, shoot, you only had 29.
Yeah, I only had 29 to begin with. So yes, I guess I should have maybe raised my prices more or something during the year. But so anyway, that year, then I got a hold of a rolling option contract. And this is something I'd overheard my boss talking about while I was at D.R. Horton.
Okay.
And so I got my lawyer to create one for me, and then I went to town and I went and found a neighborhood up the street where it was a little bit bigger homes, and it was a 50-foot product. And so I contracted those, and the contract would be like $1,000 down, and I'll buy one lot a month at $25,000 a piece. And so I started tying up more neighborhoods with that because there were lots sitting everywhere. So I kind of diversified the product offering from not just cheap houses, but I would add a little flavor of a little more expensive as well. And I did that with the rolling lot options successfully until about 2015.
Okay.
Then all those lots really started drying up. They become not available.
By the way, were you able to get some financing at this point?
Yes. In 2013, I had to really go get bank financing, and my dad's like, "Hey, I'm tapped out.
Right.
That's I'm done." And so yes, in 2013, I started understanding banking, and got a couple one bank in it to begin with, and I'd run the cash account down really, really, really low. because I was operating on cash, so everything had to go really fast. You know, we had to turn products and get closings to make happen. And I was still building houses in 2013 myself. So I had hired a superintendent to do that neighborhood, the first one I developed. But then when we expanded, I was doing about 50% of the production myself. So I was running the company, but also building about half the houses.
Were you sleeping during this time period?
Not much. I got married in 2010, and I think my wife around 2014 probably told me she was tired of hearing about Davidson Homes, because I thought about it all day long. Dinner time, everything was about the company. And I worked 7 days a week, probably until 2017.
Oh my gosh!
It was a long, long time where I would still go out and sit in houses on the weekends, and
so wait,
houses.
Why are you sitting in the houses if you've got realtors staging the open houses and selling them?
I wanted to make sure we're getting sales. I mean, I was out there all the time. I mean, it was like literally do or die. You know, it was, you have to. And I was just hands on on everything. I mean, there was nothing that I wasn't involved in. I was still doing all the purchasing probably until 2015. I still did all the vendor pricing, kept up all the spreadsheets myself. Was highly involved, obviously signing all the invoices 100% to make sure that we were paying the right amounts.
Did you have to train when you brought somebody in, like another superintendent, right? So and for all intents and purposes, you were a superintendent, right?
Yeah.
And then you bring someone else. Are you training them? Because it takes time to train someone how you want to train them, right?
Yes, but mostly I was trying to find someone that already knew what they were doing, because I don't know if there was time for training.
Didn't sound like it.
It was like stick them in there and go. And it was always, trying to keep overhead as low as possible. I mean, we still only were running with maybe 5 people, in 2013, 2014. So it was extremely low overhead. Didn't really have a whole lot of time for training. So had a part-time AP person I did bring in I think 2012. She actually worked out of my house. So me and my wife would both go to work, and she would come to our house and work in our house during the day, which I think she thought was awkward. But it was, and she was part-time, a couple days a week. And so anyway, it was just a lot of grinding for a really long time. And then I would say around like 2016, 2017, I was able to get Regions Bank to give me, up until this point when I would go to a bank, they wouldn't give me a spec loan. So I couldn't start any spec houses, but they would give me a rental house, and it was okay if I sold it. And so it was super strange. They would, obviously, if it was sold already, I could get a loan for it. But if it was a spec home, they wouldn't give me a loan for that, but they would give me one for a rental home. And then they were good if I sold the rental home as a spec home. So it was really crazy. So Regions Bank comes around and says, hey, we'll give you a $10 million line, and you can use 60% of it for specs. And I thought I died and went to heaven. I was like, this is a complete game changer. And it really was. We took it and ran with it. And so at the time, this was a huge deal. And we could build $5-6 million worth of spec homes at a time. And we really made hay with it. I mean, we it was probably a year later where they were wanting to go to 20 million. And once you get one big bank, you can get a lot of other banks.
Yeah.
And so it was just a snowball effect. And,
I'm just curious, how were you able to get your books in order for a bank to accept it? Because you're doing all this work. You got an AP person working out of your house part-time. Because I know when trying to go to a bank and get a loan, if your financials aren't in order, they just kick you back, and it's a total pain in the tush.
That's for sure. I mean, I would tell you that from the very beginning, I understand books pretty well. And then, of course, my dad ran a business. He very much understood that I needed to have good books.
Okay.
My wife's a CPA.
Ah, there we go.
So between everyone, we knew how to get the books right.
Was she helping with the books?
She did. She worked with me for a year at one point. It was like in between accountants or something, and I don't think she nor I really enjoyed that much. It was.
I noticed
it was already my life, and then it was,
I noticed you looked away as you talked about that year you worked with your wife, and sounding like that might have not have been the most enjoyable experience.
Yeah, no, I love her to death, but it's there was a lot of together time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were in like a really, really small office in a retail center, old retail center, and I mean, I could talk from my desk, and everyone in the company could hear at their desk. It was super small.
Yeah.
And so she did that for a year, and then she has actually her own little business doing the CPA stuff now. But anyway, yeah, we of course had to have good books to go to the banks and that thing, and then so we got the Regions thing, and then that snowballed into more banks.
So real quick on that. So the first bank before Regions, they essentially said, hey, we'll give you money to build a house, and you put a tenant in there. If you decide to sell it, it's okay, but these are rent homes. These are not spec homes.
Yeah, and it was an underwriting thing internally where we were still so close to when the recession happened that it was a smaller community bank, and spec homes was a dirty word around there.
Couldn't do it.
No one's doing A&D loans for development, and no one wanted to do spec homes for the most part.
Gotcha.
At least the banks that I could talk to at the time.
All right, A&D loans. Tell us A&D real quick. So what's an A&D loan?
Yeah, acquisition and development. So that's basically they give you the money to go buy the raw land, and then the cost to develop the streets and utilities.
Yeah, you're not getting that. That does not exist at that time.
No, that was definitely a dirty word at the bank.
So would they give you then just construction cost?
They would, yeah.
Okay.
And they would fund a lot of your construction costs if the home was sold, or in my case, if I called it a rental home.
Gotcha.
But not all banks were that way. It was just the banks that I was talking to and was able to talk to.
Yeah.
And so when I went into business, I obviously didn't deal with any banks at D.R. Horton. So I knew nobody. So it was all fresh and kind of having to learn from the school of hard knocks.
So what'd you do? Did you just literally call a bank and just say, hey, I'm Adam, I'm a home builder. I'd like to come talk to you about getting a loan?
Yeah. I mean, anytime I could talk to someone that knew somebody there, that's always better.
Yeah.
So that you're not going in there fresh. But yes. And I, hadn't built a lot of houses, but in the local community I was in, the bankers knew who I was. I was over there moving all the dirt in the one community and selling houses when maybe not many other people were. So there was some curiosity, at least in the local small community that I was in. Who was this guy building neighborhoods and spec homes while everyone else is, trying to get rid of their lots. So then it just snowballed, and like I said, and Regions turned into a lot of other banks, and in 2017, I had the crazy idea. I knew a guy from Nashville. I actually expanded to Nashville in 2017.
Well, hold on, because before we get there, all the homes you're building right now, are they basically in the same, city, community, neighborhood, or are you throughout Alabama now?
No, I'm only in North Alabama, but I had expanded into Huntsville from the small community I was started in, and I was in several communities in 2017.
Okay.
we were probably doing 200 homes a year.
Oh, wow.
At this point in 2017.
That's got to be one of the largest home builders in the area that you're in, I would assume.
It was definitely on the radar.
Yeah.
It was maybe not top 3 or 4, but we were on the radar. And so then, I had the crazy idea to go to Nashville at this time, which looking back was nuts because I was only doing 200 homes a year in Alabama. Probably had no business going to Nashville, but I did it anyway.
Why?
I liked the guy, and I made him do it the same way I did it. He ran the division, but he had no employees, and he actually built the houses too.
Oh.
So I started, with very low overhead, and I'll say Nashville from the very first year we were in business has always been profitable.
Yeah.
It was profitable the very first year, but that was just because we had one employee.
What size home were you doing in Nashville? Same program that you were doing, or more expensive?
It was actually a little different. So he had come from a builder that built more high-end homes.
Okay.
And I think our first home in Nashville at the time in 2017 was probably $450,000.
Okay.
Very nice, architecturally nicer than anything we had built at the time. And so I was kind of, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, kind of let him do his thing a little bit. Of course, we don't build necessarily all high-end homes in Nashville now. We have changed and do a diversity of different things. But anyway, so we did that, and then that ran for about a year, and then I started spending my time trying to run Huntsville area, North Alabama, and going to Nashville some too. And so I decided I'm going to get a division president for Huntsville to run it so that I'll have two, and then I can spend my time back and forth. And I interviewed a guy from Raleigh, North Carolina that I really liked. And I ended up, he'd spent his whole career basically in Raleigh. And I said, and I have this map in my head of all these big things I want to do. And I'm saying, actually, I like you, but I think I want to just hire you to start a Raleigh division for me. And he agreed to that. And then there was a guy that had worked here since 2012 when I only had just a few employees. And I decided to promote him to run Huntsville and do the Raleigh thing. So it's like I did, two things at one time here.
Of course you did.
So, yeah. So now I've got, Raleigh starting up in 2018, just a year after Nashville. And so he starts doing his thing. And then
now is the Raleigh market more like your Huntsville market or more like the Nashville market? Or hybrid?
Probably more similar to Nashville. I mean, it's much bigger, than Huntsville. Huntsville's, compared to these other markets, is still a fairly small market.
Yeah.
Raleigh, I would say, was at the time was much more sophisticated than even Nashville or Huntsville, as far as how you build your entitlement process on land. And but he knew it. He knew the right things, and he brought on a really good crew. And to this day, we've had really no turnover over there as far as our management staff. They're very, very good. So we did that 2018. It's a startup going. 2019. So I'm figuring out along the way that, hey, this it's really hard to go buy land and do A&D loans when you only have a set amount of equity and it's yours, and there's I want to grow fast, but then you run out of capital.
Right.
At the end of the day. So a few people had been talking to me about land bankers, and I didn't even really know what that was, probably in 2016, maybe 2017. So a guy from another home builder actually introduced me to a group out of Houston, Texas called First Continental Investments, and they did a non-recourse senior debt. And then I talked to them, and they said, hey, most builders will layer on a mezzanine investor behind us. Mezzanine debt there. And so I figured out how I could get 90% of the capital stack covered. Obviously higher than a bank rate, but you're getting, way more capital covered. And so it was, again, like I died and went to heaven. I was like, you mean to tell me I could have a neighborhood and only have 10% cash in the deal? So this means I can do 3 or 4 neighborhoods to every one that I used to be able to do. And so I just took that and leveraged it into, I did a lot of deals with them. I think we ended up closing over 100 different A&D deals with First Continental.
Oh my gosh!
In probably a 4 or 5 year span. And so we did that for Raleigh and Nashville and Huntsville, and then in 2020 we expanded to Atlanta, and we bought a big portfolio in the middle of COVID, which was probably another bold move.
Look, in your short career, you ran into some you're 12 years in and you have been through the great financial crisis, and now you're heading into COVID.
Yeah.
And we're building homes in COVID at that time? I mean, are we worried?
Oh, yeah.
We don't know what's going on?
I probably underestimated COVID to begin with.
But you and everybody else.
I'm thinking, and I'm in a state that didn't take it as serious as others. But I'm thinking, all the signs are there that this market ought to still be good. Yes, there's a pandemic on our hands, but I didn't think it'd be very long. I thought it was a few months and that it would be over. And so I really never pulled up off the gas pedal. And matter of fact, I pushed it harder. And in the summer of 2020, we're driving around Atlanta, and there's like no traffic on the interstates. It's awesome. And so we meet this guy, and he's got a portfolio of about 2,000 lots, many of them finished on the ground in Atlanta. And I'm thinking, man, we could just buy these and we're in business instantly. This is probably 300 closings, 350 closings a year right out of the gate. And so we made a deal with them and closed in the summer of 2020. So that was the Atlanta division started up. And I mean, I think we hired 30 people in like 30 days. It was like instant business, wide open. Thankfully, we got it right as far as obviously the market picked up almost immediately after closing.
Yeah.
And 2020, then it's like, can't do anything wrong. You can sell everything.
Yeah.
It's obviously the other markets were doing really well at this time too, Nashville, Raleigh, and Huntsville. And so we did that. And then in 2021, we heard about a guy that we should hire in Houston, Texas. Can run that for us, start it up. So I took a gamble again. I said, okay, we're going to Houston, Texas. We're going to get behind this guy. So he goes and gets, quite a few lots tied up. So we do that deal. Then in 2019, I also started Built Capital out of Birmingham, Alabama, which ended up just basically coordinated the senior and the mezzanine debt and kind of a formal way of doing it with somebody running it because it became its own business itself.
Sure.
And so that's running and these other ones are going. And then 2022, I don't think we did not do an expansion in 22. 23, we had an opportunity to hire a guy and buy a builder in San Antonio. So we did that. And then we ended up buying a second one right behind the first one. And so we hire him in, and he's an ex-division president from KB Home.
In San Antonio, you bought 2 builders?
Yeah. Yeah. And in the same time in probably around 2022, I might have skipped. I bought 2 builders in Huntsville as well. So we bought out 2 different ones here. And so expanded our portfolio here. So 23, we buy, 2 builders in San Antonio. 24, we expanded to Charlotte.
Let me ask, when you're buying these builders though, do you have to teach them the Davidson way of building homes? I mean, there's got to be, because
I would say that for, in the last couple of years, yes. But up until the last couple of years, we were very, very much a melting pot of different people's perspective or thoughts on how a home building company should operate. And every division was very different.
Interesting.
So our Raleigh was an ex-Toll Brothers guy. Our Nashville was ex-D.R. Horton guy. Houston was Pulte. San Antonio was KB Home. Huntsville was homegrown, Davidson Homes. Atlanta was Ashton Wood's person. I mean, so you had all these different thoughts on how it should run, and they were all very different. And I was much of a believer in getting the right person and letting them do their thing in that city, because every city is different, the way it operates. And so I never really have expanded to a place without the operator in place first.
Gotcha.
So I've never said, come hell or high water, I'm going to, Orlando, Florida this year.
Yeah.
One way or the other. I like it. I'm going there. We have Orlando and Tampa and Jacksonville on our radar, but we will not go there unless we have an operator in place.
And you give the operator the freedom, or you guys sit down ahead of time and talk, and he gives you his philosophy, kind of where he was taught how to build a house. And or how to run that vision, and you're like, go run it. Then we'll let you run it like that, and then you guys just oversee it.
Yeah, we definitely in the earlier days. That's how we've done it. I would say today it's a mixture of that. We're definitely can be taught and have been taught by everyone that works here. But at the same time, at some point, you have to figure out who is Davidson Homes and where do we want to be? Who do we want to be? And so I think you have to today. I think we're a mixture. We're open to ideas, but hey, at the end of the day, this is who we are. And I think the bigger you get, the more that you can settle in and be confident in who you are as a company. And but as far as all the different builders and how they build, I mean, at the end of the day, we all get to the same results, which is a finished home on the ground that hopefully somebody buys and you make some money on it. But there's a lot of different ways to get there. and many different companies have different philosophies on who they are. And that's one thing that when I looked up one day a couple of years ago, I mean, we were building, maybe Toll Brothers type homes in Raleigh and D.R. Horton-ish type homes in Nashville and Ashton Woods like in Atlanta. And you're like, hey, we're too spread out. We got too many home plans. We've got too many different things. We're trying to be everything to everybody. And so we've really, in the last couple of years, really deleted a lot of house plans, dialed in what we want to be, and kind of get everybody on board with that. And then your next operator you hire, you truly do more of a, hey, understand where you've been before, but this is how we're going to do it here. This is our program, and this is who we are. And so then you can get people to buy into that rather than just letting them have a long rope and go be whatever they want to be.
So when you were going to do markets, were you relying on that division head that they were finding the land and they were finding the lots and they were doing, you weren't going in there and saying, I'll do this and then you build the houses or something like that? They were soup to nuts essentially?
I was very involved in when they had a land deal on the hook, going and visiting and looking at it, and even what they called tailgate deals. I even did a couple deals on the tailgate with a developer where we shook hands on it. It was like, hey, I'll buy them for this pricing. But it's always with the knowledge on the way there, the division president telling me this is the market rate for these lots. Like, I don't know, Raleigh.
Sure.
Like, I don't know if this is a good deal. I don't. In some points, I didn't even know if this was a good area. So you really, really have to rely, or we do, on the local division heads or people to lead us. And that's why I say it's very, very people focused for us, because without the right people, I mean, we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
That is fascinating, dude. I can't believe how fast you've grown.
Yeah.
And it's a really interesting, philosophy on that, letting everyone kind of do their own thing.
Yeah, it is. It's somewhere D.R. Horton does do somewhat of the same thing. Obviously they're way further along in the business and know exactly who they want to be as a company, but they definitely understand that every market is very different. Real estate is very local.
For sure.
What works in Atlanta, Georgia, or Alabama does not work where I just was this weekend, New York City. I mean, it's totally different. And so you really, kind of the when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You really have to do some of that. There are some similarities from one market to the other. Roughly what a first-time buyer buys or a first move-up buyer buys is roughly the same. Some markets, the master bedroom's upstairs and sometimes it's downstairs.
Yeah.
That can be, or there's a lot of 2 stories in the market. There's a lot of 1 stories. I mean, those are all easy things to change. But the climate and the local culture is very much dependent upon, the people understanding how business operates there. And then going to this year, we did an acquisition in the spring of this year where we bought a company that had rolled up several different builders.
Okay.
And so that was another expansion for us in Huntsville, Columbus, Georgia, and then they operated in Prescott, Arizona as well. So now we have an Arizona division.
Huntsville, Columbus, Georgia, Prescott.
Yeah.
Was it another guy? They had somebody out in Prescott that knew what they were doing type thing?
We actually brought in an operator sorry, I missed one step. I hired a CEO about 2.5 years ago. I brought him into the company. So he knew the guy from Pulte Homes. He was a 25-year veteran. Pulte had run some divisions for them. And so wanted to be in Arizona. I think he'd maybe even moved back to Phoenix already. So we ended up landing him, which honestly made the acquisition made it to where we would even do the acquisition.
Right.
If we would have been able to land him, I doubt we would have closed. But that was another one, kind of people focused, and this was already obviously a built-in business already, so a little different than the greenfield startups. But yeah, it's a lot. Talking through it, I guess there is a lot of things that happen in a very short amount of time.
Adam, it's crazy what you've done. I mean, when you this is why I love talking to people, because when you say it out loud, and because you just did it, right? You had your head down and you were just doing it. But when you sit back and start explaining to me, walking me through year by year, acquiring new companies every year is exhausting.
Yeah, very.
I mean,
very exhausting, and even, the banking, some stuff I skipped there was, just in 2022 we up to then we had 18 different banks at 2021. We were dealing with 18 banks, and
now were these banks that some of the stuff you inherited when you brought these other guys in, or this is you created this?
The banking stuff I created all here. Really, a lot of the guys we brought on all come from public companies, so they really didn't bring any banking stuff with them because that's all on a whole other level.
Sure.
The bond, high yield deals and things like that. No, this was all people I had met and rolled up as we kept growing more and more and more banks. And so we got, obviously 18 is hard to handle. They were 18 different lines too. They weren't syndicated. So in 2022, we went to an unsecured syndication, which took me off personal guarantees, which was a nice thing personally.
Yeah.
It's unsecured, so no longer have to file mortgages on each house that we start. And so that we ended up doing a U.S. bank deal in 2022. In 24, we swapped to Bank of America, leading a syndication. So yeah, it's been a lot of operational moves, and then probably a lot of banking and finance and those kind of things in the background that have to be constantly evolving when you're going really fast on the operations side.
Oh my God, I'm exhausted listening to you. I mean, you just sat back and explained to me. Look, we did an acquisition of one company, and my COO told me we need to take a break. We're not prepared enough. We're not this. You're doing one a year or more.
Yeah,
like the last 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
Or more.
Yeah.
And so I know next you're going to tell me you're going public soon, right? I mean, you're just going to roll it up and go public, right? I mean, that's the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely have a lot of goals. I mean, we now that we've got all what I call seeds planted in a lot of places, and as far as scale goes, we're all over the board. We're at 700 closings in Huntsville last year to maybe 50 closings in Dallas this year. It's so we have a lot of expansion that we have to do with what we've already planted.
Yeah.
And I look at it as like you planted a seed and now the tree's got to grow. So we want to be 500 plus closings in every division. And if we do that, we're talking 4,000 plus closings a year.
Oh my gosh.
And that's what's already been planted. And it's just, it's just like any other business. We already have the staff there. The same managers can do 500 closings that do 200 closings. And so you get a lot of efficiencies on overhead as you expand that.
Do you ever sit down and talk to your dad and go, Dad, can you believe when we started this, I was doing, we tried to do 2 houses and then 4, and now I'm doing 4,000 a year, or it's crazy, right?
Well, yeah, unfortunately, so I left this out of the story, but my dad got super sick with cancer.
Oh, I'm sorry.
2019, he actually passed away in the summer of 2020.
Ugh.
So that was a whole other thing that, in 2019 we had to have a hard conversation, and I ended up buying out his half of the company.
Oh, wow.
In 2019. So yeah, it was, that was a tough, couple years there. But yeah, so, we were doing well, and I know he was proud.
Yeah. Well, it's just like, you don't often get where someone's there at the beginning, and now you're 15 years later. And I don't know if that's what you imagined in 2010 when you said, I'm going to go on my own, or 2009, that I'm going to build this monster and have different departments, divisions, and all that. Maybe you did, right? But even if you did, to execute it in the time period that you did is incredible. And by the way, the world events that were happening that had nothing to do with you or your business that you have to adapt to and overcome and adjust is crazy.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say the last 5 years in particular have been just an absolute roller coaster of just about every kind of event you could think of.
Right.
I mean, you have a worldwide pandemic to, crazy inflation to, raising interest rates in the summer of 22 and then riding that for the last 3 years, and affordability challenges. And it's been, from a business standpoint, you've had to really pull back different levers constantly for the last 5 years, and you kind of get almost a lifetime of education in about a 5-year period.
I was just going to say the education that you've received, you got your Harvard MBA and everything, right, that you've had to deal with for the last 5 years. But I'm still amazed. I mean, you were a pup. You were 24 years old.
Yeah.
Right? When you decided to go on your own. I mean, you're still a young man. And I'm blown away with what you've done, quite frankly. I did not know this story's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, was there anyone in your ear going like, hey, dude, you might want to slow down. Hold on a sec. You just started in Raleigh. Let's get that build up. Or you just started in Nashville. Why are we going to Raleigh? Hold on. Let's get it going a little more before you jump to the next one or anything. Was there anybody? Was there no governor in your ear from anybody? Your wife? Somebody?
There's plenty of people, and there always will be, that have never done what you're doing, that tell you that it's a bad idea.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure there were, and I would, looking back, some of the stuff I've done is pretty crazy, but I would say a lot of it was some gut feel, a lot of trust in people. And I think that even the people you hired to do this jobs, they know, like they know that you're really going out on a limb with them. And I think that actually drives some people too, though.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard for even our size now. It's hard to recruit top tier talent away from our competitors, meaning they're going to leave a publicly traded company that's doing billions of dollars in revenue a year, and maybe even with a stock plan and all kinds of things, to come work here where we're maybe slightly crazy. But I would say that it's not for everyone, but we have attracted more than you would think that want to be part of something that is a little crazy. And they get I think they get a thrill out of it as well. And when we say we need them and what they do every day is going to count,
it matters.
Like, the Raleigh guy or the Nashville guy or Houston, wherever. I mean, if they fail to come to work every day and hustle, like it's a pretty big dent in the company.
Yeah.
Very big dent. Yeah. I think it puts that extra pressure and responsibility on that sometimes maybe they don't get at the very big companies, where they are kind of just another number in some cases. And the company will be just fine if they fail and they leave or whatever. So it takes a little, maybe a little different character. But like I said, we've had some really good ones come on board that left really good jobs, and they came because they want to be a part of something, and we're not, not scared to make a move, kind of things like that.
Oh, well, you're not scared. There's no one that ever is going to say you're scared. Everyone that listens to this know that Adam is not scared. But and this is the part I'm just thinking in my head. Listen to this. Like, did you hit on everybody? Like, have all the guys that you've gone to in the different markets, have they all worked out? I mean, because to me, that's the hard part, right? Getting that guy right.
Yeah, no, they haven't. We've had a couple missteps. Houston, we have somebody different. Nashville, we have somebody different from the originals.
Okay.
And that's probably, it's going to happen if you take enough gambles. You're gonna have missteps.
Of course.
So yeah, we've definitely had that, and there's some scars that we have, or that I have, and the overly trusting probably can bite you too. Some of them work out brilliantly, and some of them don't work out very well.
Has that slowed you down at all? Has that made you a little more cautious in moving forward, or you're like, hey, it's just part of the game?
It's part of the game for sure. I mean, you're gonna, just like a football game, every once in a while you're gonna have to punt, and that's just part of the game too. You're not gonna get a first down or a touchdown every carry or every possession, but that's one thing that when I brought Brandon in as a CEO 2.5 years ago, that was one of my, I would say, challenges, is that, hey, I want to be able to attract better people, like really top notch, good ones. And I know I have the entrepreneur side of it, and I know I have a vision. But he has really brought on a lot of really top tier talent. And it was just, he'd spent 20 years at Pulte Homes and had been through a lot and seen a lot. And I also looked at it and said, there's a lot of things that I can get scars from and learn the hard way. And I have in many cases. I spent essentially almost 10 years doing it the hard way.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But I mean, he can bring knowledge in that can accelerate me 20, 30 years, that it would take me 20 or 30 years to gain that knowledge.
Yeah.
We can take some shortcuts. We can get there and not have as many scars that someone else already has.
How'd you get him?
I am, I'm not really looking for a CEO at all. I'm not looking, and not want to have a recruiter on or nothing like that. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, again, this is kind of like the markets I want to expand to. At some point, if I run across someone that could do a better job than I can at some of these things as far as the CEO goes, then I'll be the first one to do it. And so when I met him, we were actually interviewing him for a different position. And I was like, man, this guy's going to be, he's a lot better than what I'm interviewing him for. And he's not going to take that job. I wouldn't if I were him. And so I just made a bold move. I'd known him for like 2-3 weeks, and I made a bold move, offered him a CEO job, and literally stepped myself down. I don't know what our employees thought. Probably thought I was crazy again, but it turned out to be one of the best moves I've made in the company so far. I mean, he's a grinder, probably more than I am.
That sounds hard to believe, by the way, just FYI.
Yeah, he gets after it. And he's, like I said, he's brought in all kinds of systems and people, things that the big guys do that I may or may not have been aware. Even if I was aware, maybe I didn't know how to implement.
Sure.
But he's been great. And it was one of those that I looked at and said, when am I ever going to have the opportunity to hire a top 3 executive from a Fortune 500 company? Probably never. I mean, those guys don't leave. They have, major stock plans and stuff that we can't offer or that we don't have, or they're just not going to leave them. So I made a bold move on that one too. And so 2.5 years in, I don't regret it whatsoever. Actually, I'm extremely happy with my decision there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but he does, I would say, a lot better job than me as far as like getting into the details on management hires, new divisions, the details of land deals and whatnot. So, yep, that's
wow. So I'm fascinated. I mean, what's next? I mean, I just, you've done so much in such a small, and look, I got to tell you this, right? For being as young as you are, you experience-wise and business-wise, you're, 50 years older than you actually are. But
yeah,
to have the wisdom and maturity to say that I'm going to put someone as the CEO of my company instead of me that's pretty rare, right?
Yeah, I would agree. And I've had a few people tell me the same thing, that you get some strong personalities in my position sometimes, or maybe a lot of times.
Yeah.
The way I see it is I want the bus to the top of the mountain, and I don't care if I'm driving it or not. I just want to the top of the mountain. And I think that it's, you got to be humble. You be able to look at yourself in the mirror and know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah.
And like I said, I always told everybody, if it gets to a point where there's a better CEO than me, I will be the first one to replace myself. And that's how focused I am on getting the bus to the top of the mountain. It doesn't have to be me.
What's the top of the mountain then?
That's a great question. I would say the top of the mountain for us is going to be, I believe everyone's given some God-given talents, and the talents to, maybe even do more than what you're given, the ability to go do what, let's say, like what I did with hire someone. I just want to do literally everything that we possibly can, with what we've been given. And I think if I go to my grave and I left something on the table, then that's bad on me.
Yeah. But I don't think, I love the way you're answering this, because I can tell you're not putting a ceiling on where you can be, right? I mean, you're not, because you're
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know. we could be the largest home builder that ever existed, or we might be 200 closings bigger than we are today.
Yeah.
I don't know. But as long as we can keep on growing, keep creating opportunities, and keep doing a good job, then, there's no ceiling on what we want to do.
So tell me now that you've hired a CEO, and I'm assuming you're no longer building houses and power washing homes and sitting in open houses on Saturdays and Sundays. What is Adam doing? What is Adam doing now?
So I still am involved in like a lot of our M&A stuff. So we're still looking at builders actively right now.
Okay.
I would say that I do a lot of, and I talk to Brandon several times a day. I mean, we have very close communication. I don't talk to everyone else as much, obviously not handling day-to-day operations things.
Yeah.
But still a lot of the strategy. We don't have a CFO. So I still do a lot of the heavy lifting on talking to banks and things like that. A lot of visionary stuff. I got some special projects I'm working on that I think would be unique. But I'm also very aware that I come up with 100 ideas, and there could be 2 or 3 in there that are any good.
Yeah.
But I'm the idea generator. I'm constantly trying to think of new ways to do home building, new ways that we can do different things, ancillary businesses that we can add on to what we already do, and that's it. And this kind of help Brandon. He's I'm not the public speaker type. I'm not. I'll do it if I have to, but I'm not one to get everyone in a room and get up and give a grand speech and rally everyone.
Well, you say that, but you got a pretty amazing story.
Yeah, I was maybe more of a strategist in the background. I obviously want to be very involved, and we have a lot to do. But
well, yeah, you keep creating more stuff for you to do.
Yeah, I always do.
Yeah.
That I don't know that will ever end. So I'm very much a busy bee.
By the way, I have a question. I forgot to ask you this. When you do acquisitions or hire, mostly acquisitions, I guess, do you brand under Davidson Homes everything, or do you kind of use the name in that particular market and keep that name of that whoever you acquire?
So far we have rebranded, not because we're so proud of the very creative name I came up with, but it really comes down to how strong is that brand, and do we need to keep it?
Yeah.
It definitely complicates things like marketing, advertising, all your dollars on, whether it be Google, SEO searches, or whatever it be.
Yep.
You're now double paying, especially if you're already in the market. But if we had a builder right now, and maybe we do, that we're looking at right now that has an excellent reputation and is worthwhile keeping their name alive, 100% we'll do that. We don't have to change it. It's just more of for simplicity's sake.
Oh no, I get it. I will tell you, I love, and I don't know if this is just who you are or you've learned over the years, your like willingness to be flexible and not set in, well, this is the way we do it. So this everyone's going to be this name and do this. That is, I think, probably remarkable, and 2, probably a huge key to your success.
Yeah. I think you got to stay humble and you got to be open. I mean, if you're closed-minded, then people are not going to teach you things, and you're not going to learn because you think you already know. I'm sure every business is similar, but home building is changing. It changes all the time. And if anyone's telling you that they know everything, they're lying. They don't, because what you knew 2 years ago doesn't apply to this year.
Right.
It's no longer the same business. It just changes, and it's cyclical, and it's very much, trends and the macroeconomy, and there's so many things that go into it that can completely change your model or how you do things. But I like to say that I'm a student of the business. I talk to a lot of other home builders and know a lot of other home builders, and I'll just call them randomly and just have 30-minute, 45-minute conversations about home building.
Yeah.
And every single one of those calls, you learn something. And hopefully people, can learn something from me as well if they call me. But no, I think if you think you know everything, then you obviously don't, and you won't learn more.
Yeah. Well, Adam, this has been really fascinating, man. This has been really awesome. Like because I did not know your story. Yeah. And now listen to your story. I'm exhausted. I'm going to go take a nap, I think. Because I can't believe all the stuff you've done in the short period of time. But what I need to get from you is like a promise that in 12 months from now, we can have another one of these. Because I can't wait to hear what you've done in the next 12 months. Because I know you're not sitting still. Like,
yeah, sure. We can definitely do that.
Like you're going to have you're going to own, you probably already do a mortgage company, and you got an insurance company, and you got, you probably own a bunch of subs and all that. I mean, it's going to be, and then I can't wait till you go publicly traded. I feel like that's coming, right? Like at some point, the size you're getting to, it just makes more sense probably from a financing perspective.
Sure. Hopefully so. We just got to look good enough to do it.
I'm sure you will.
A lot of work to do.
I have no doubt that you will get. I mean, because look, I feel like you don't have to get there tomorrow, but you're going to get there. If you want to get there, you're going to get there at some point. I have no doubt about that.
Yep.
I'm 100% confident. Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much for doing this, and I'm serious. I'm definitely going to call you in 12 months, and I want to know. I got to keep up with you because, what's next, right? I mean, I'm fascinated to see where you go next.
And you select your state and your city, and hopefully we have something there for you.
And I'm confident if you're listening out there and Adam is not in one of your states, he'll be there soon. I feel very confident that he will get there, especially if you're in the southeast part of the country. I feel very confident he'll get there. I'm curious. We were talking like just before we started, you were up in New York. Would you ever go northeast?
Maybe part of it. Definitely not. It's not on the immediate radar.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't rule out anything.
I knew that. I was waiting for your answer to be like, well, maybe. I mean, find the right partner, the right person. I mean, Thank you for being on the Longhorn Way podcast. And we're excited to have you back again soon. I mean, I can't wait to hear what you've done.
Call up Longhorn, told them let's make it rain. They said, boy, we got you, gonna do your thing.